I mean, this guy is a real competitor. He's a winner. But Bobby, I just want to kind of leave you with one thing here. Leave our football players alone across the room, all right? Just give me some professional courtesy here. Don't take them all. You know, on a serious note, Governor Jindal is showing folks that the conservative principles are not just sensible, but they're truly compassionate, they're truly effective. You know, flying into New Orleans this morning, one can't help to reflect. Anita and I were just looking out the window as we were coming in and thinking about the destruction that visited the city when Hurricane Katrina came through. And, you know, and just this amazing story of human spirit that's given this town back its vitality and its feeling, and this place is thriving again. And, you know, there's been a lot of talk in this town and across the country about the government's responsibility in a recovery for a disaster. And government certainly has a very important role to play. But the real recovery comes as a result of individuals taking ownership and doing the hard work and making the things happen. Now, unfortunately, this administration in Washington that's in power now clearly believes that government is not only the answer to every need, but it's the most qualified to make essential decisions for every American in every area. That mix of arrogance and audacity that guides the Obama administration is an affront to every freedom-loving American and a threat to every private sector job in this country. Whether they're seeking to punish a company like Boeing that's wanting to go into South Carolina, they're pressuring company leadership in Forest Laboratories in New York, imposing EPA mandates that will kill jobs right here in Louisiana. They clearly think that they know best. And let me tell you, I vehemently disagree. They don't know best. Folks who reached our shores in search of religious and economic freedom, that they and the generations that followed embraced the risk and the rewards of freedom. They tilled the land, they built the factories, they pursued innovation. They helped create a nation unlike any that the earth has ever seen. Now, unfortunately, the liberty that inspired our fledgling nation to throw off the chains of oppression, a nation that's been a magnet for immigrants all over the years. It's been the essence of the American dream. It's being constricted daily by new regulations, obligations that seek to empower government, not the people. We now live in this strange, inverted version of our founding fathers' vision in which government of the people, by the people, for the people, is little more than this outdated notion, not very welcome in today's Washington. Instead, we have these so-called leaders who ramrod unread health care legislation through the system without revealing the true cost or admitting it will ultimately make the federal government the sole arbitrator and administrator of health care. Instead, we have these so-called leaders who would rather pour bailout monies on companies that are too big to fail than make changes that would free up small businesses to create real jobs and real wealth. Instead, we have this entitlement culture in our nation that dictates government spending based on what bureaucrats think they deserve rather than what the people can afford. Do you really believe this is what our founding fathers had in mind? And as I think of their writings, of the risk that they took in the name of freedom, the sacrifices of generations of Americans who have shared those ideals. I begin to wonder, what will our legacy be? Will history view us as the generation of Americans that kind of collectively shrugged their shoulders and said, well, I guess there's nothing that I can do? Will we just watch our nation continue this slow backward slide? Will future generations of Americans living a life without any direction or decision that's not made by some bureaucrat wonder, why didn't somebody do something? You see, I've got more confidence in America's energy and character. I totally believe it's time to reconnect with the greatest attributes of our nation, to regain that resilient spirit and recapture that love of freedom, remembering its true price. And it doesn't matter what your zip code is or where you're from, we're all facing the same challenges in America. I stand before you today a disciplined, conservative Texan, a committed Republican, and a proud American, united with you in the desire to restore our nation and revive the American dream. I believe with all my heart that our shared conservative values, that our belief in the individual is the great hope of our nation. I say that with confidence because I've seen what we've done in Texas over the last 10 years. I credit our conservative leadership in that state for unmatched job creation, including a 47.8% of all jobs created in America in the last 2 years. I gotta brag a little bit on Texas conservative values just a bit. We're the #1 exporting state in the nation. We got a balanced budget to boot. That's what happens with conservative leadership that is willing to take a beating from the liberal left and their friends in the media. You know, we happen to be a bunch of happy warriors that are working together. We're sticking to our guns and those conservative values. I've distilled my economic agenda down into what I consider to be some pretty simple guiding principles. #1 is don't spend all the money. Taxes low and under control. 3 is have regulations that are fair and predictable so that business owners know what to expect from one quarter to the next. And #4, reform the legal system so that frivolous lawsuits don't paralyze. Recipe. We've stopped lawsuit abuse. We have one of the lowest tax burdens in the nation. Our per capita debt is limited. And we keep adding jobs while others are losing them left and right. Those jobs flee other states because of factors like excessive taxation, punitive regulation, frivolous lawsuits. You know, to preserve our job-friendly climate, Texas legislature did raise taxes this last legislative session while balancing their budget and maintaining civil services. And I might add, that new budget leaves $6 billion in a rainy day fund.